What's going on, guys? It's Chris here.
And Charlie.
Hey, I want to welcome you to another Fusion Real Estate Investing Network show. And we want to introduce here Mark Owens here. Mark Owens, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a lot of people are kind of curious about you.
Yeah, hello, my name is Mark Owens. I'm a full-time real estate investor. Been in the business 16 years this month. I bought my first property. I deal exclusively in Baltimore City. Don't believe everything you hear, all the bad stuff anyway. There's actually, Baltimore is a gold mine, and you can do very well there if you pay attention to what you're doing, you do things smart, you don't get too aggressive, and you talk to other people that have gone ahead of you. You can do very well.
And I know, Mark, you're more of a buy and hold guy, right? Would you say that you do more buy and hold deals?
I am a buy and hold guy, yes.
Okay.
That's what got me into the business. And then a few years into it, I learned about wholesaling, and I tried to do the retail rehab stuff, and I still do both of those, but my primary source of income is buy and hold.
Buy and hold. Because I know we have a lot of people. I want to say that most of them are intermediate, but some are also beginners. Mostly buy and hold. There's also flip. People that do flips. But we certainly brought Mark here because he definitely. I call Mark a super landlord because he has so many units and he manages them himself, right? You manage all your units.
I manage them myself. Yes.
So that is tough. You must have some type of systems, people, automation, something in there, because otherwise your phone would be ringing like every 5 seconds, probably.
yeah, it might. Yeah, I actually have a lot of systems in place.
And that's what we wanted to bring Mark. The way we do this show, so the first half, we definitely want to know, what was Mark doing right before he went into real estate investing? And when he took the jump and the leap of faith, or say a lot of people did, I did and Charles did, everybody really that got into the business at one point. How did you get there, and obviously how you got to where you are now?
How much time do we have?
We have, we're invited 30 minutes and then 30 minutes of questions.
Okay. Like, why did you start? What made you say, hey?
Let me just, I'm going to start with this. I'm going to speak quick. I just want to get this out. I was in the IT field. I was making good money. I was an independent contractor for several years. I was making between 130 and 150 a year. This was the 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, that time period. So it's a good bit of money now. It was even more like, 16, 17, 18 years ago. When I started making money like that, I didn't know how long it was going to last. So I saved my money and I invested it, and I stayed in the row house I lived in, and I didn't go out and buy an $800,000 house and an expensive car. I just thought, I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm going to save my money, and I started investing in the stock market. And around 2000, I can't remember, it was like 2001, 2000, the stock market took a big dump.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't lose any of what I put in, but I lost everything that I'd gained over a few years.
Goodness.
And so I think I went from like 170 to 120 or somewhere in that range.
Okay, you lost quite a bit.
And I pulled everything out. I said, this is like really risky. This is kind of stupid because you don't have any control over it. I mean, you get Alan Greenspan gets on TV and says like the irrational exuberance of the market, and then you lose like 10% of your portfolio the next day.
It changes
because of what one guy said on TV.
Yeah.
And so I'd always had an interest in real estate, but prior to that time, I had never followed up on it. I thought I was never going to have enough money to do it. Like, I didn't know anything. I mean, like, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like, you already know more than I knew in 2001. And so I went out and I bought some dumb books. Tyler Hicks was one of the authors that I don't even know if anybody's ever even heard of him anymore, but I was reading these stupid books, and I just thought, I want to invest my money in something where I have a little bit more control and where there's a tremendous possible upside. So I put together a spreadsheet, and in the spreadsheet I just used it to calculate my cash on cash return on my money, because that's all that I really had as a measure between the stock market or savings bonds or CDs or any of this other stuff. I just needed some way to compare everything. So I put together this Excel spreadsheet, and I said, I want a 30% cash on cash return. I'm not talking about equity. I'm not talking about mortgage pay down. I'm not talking about appreciation or any of that stuff. I'm just talking about my monthly cash on cash return.
Every month, right?
So I put that spreadsheet together, and I got on the internet, and this was before Google. I mean, I think I was using like web crawler. I never liked Yahoo. I think it was web crawler. It might have been Alta Vista. And I just started doing searches. And I grew up in Hamden. It's an area of Baltimore City that I felt really comfortable with. And I wanted to buy in an area that I was comfortable. And at the time when I started, there was no meetups, there was no bigger pockets.
That's right.
There was no. I mean, I didn't know of any RIAs. There was,
no meetups.
There was no Facebook. There was like Zuckerberg was still like poor. There was no Facebook. And like Kiyosaki, I think he still lived in his mother's basement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Selling wallets.
Yeah, so he was selling wallets. Right?
Selling wallets. That's right. Yeah.
So and so that's pretty much how I got started. I went out and I bought a 3-unit. It was listed for $75,000. It had a big garage and 3 apartments. I think the monthly income, I'm really going back, but I'll put it like this. Mm-hmm. My cash flow was about $325 a month after all my expenses. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because like a month earlier, I just bought a new car, and my car payment was $312 a month. And I remember like leaving a settlement, like thinking, man, my tenants are going to buy my house and my car. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just remember like how excited I was, and I was thinking, man, if I can get 3 more, then they'll be paying for the house I live in too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then like they'll be paying my BG. I didn't have a cell phone back then, I don't think, but it was just, I mean, really, we didn't have a cell phone.
So you started realizing.
You got a pager.
You started realizing the potential there.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
I was excited about it. The first one, I mean, like honestly, like the first one is like the hardest. It's scary. I didn't know anybody was doing it, and I use a lot of analogies, but it's like kissing like the first girl, like when you're like
just
in my
scared,
neighborhood, like
nervous.
12, and it's like, or maybe the first time you kiss your girlfriend, and then like the second time's a little bit easier, third time a little bit easier, and in real estate's the same way. The first time's the hardest, it's the scariest, but after you get past the first one, if you do it the right way, you learn the most on the first one. You learn a little bit less on the second, a little bit less on the third, but you're always learning. Yeah. And but it's been exciting.
So basically, you jump in and tell us a little bit about your first deal.
You mean the 3-unit with the garage?
Yeah.
I just told him about that.
Okay, so you got the 3-unit.
That was the first one. Yeah.
Now,
that was
you
my
still
first
have
deal.
that?
No, I sold that I bought it for $75. I think I sold it for about $185. 3 years later.
3 years.
Then I hardly did any work to it. Yeah. Yeah. It was. Look, I bought at a good time. I didn't know it was a good time. I mean, there's always it's always a good time to buy if you buy right.
Right. I agree with that.
I bought right, and I saw that I can sell this and I can take the money and buy more properties and make even more money. So I sold that. And
now, when you bought the first property, was that conventional financing, 20%, 25%?
Yeah, it was 10%, man.
Okay, 10%.
You could do 10% down back then, all day long.
Okay. What was the interest rate?
It was probably like 7%, 6%, something like that. I don't remember. I just know when I put it in my little spreadsheet,
it makes sense.
Like ding, I hit my 30%.
So, and this is for a lot of the newer people that would be watching or listening. Like, who were the first people that you reached out to? Like, because you said you were scared, were you reaching out to a realtor, a friend? Like, what pushed you over?
There were no friends. Like, all your friends are going to tell you you're crazy. Yeah. They had an uncle that did it in the 60s and it didn't work or something.
That's what happened to me. Yeah. Everybody told me I was crazy. My parents see me buying these houses. They were like, "Why are you buying these houses?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to rent them out." That's
the first piece of advice I want to give is like, don't take financial advice from poor people, because they all know everything. Well, if they know everything, why are they poor?
Everybody has an opinion. Yeah.
So don't find other people that are doing well and find out how they did it.
Exactly.
When I started, I met a real estate agent named Alex Smith. Okay. Alex is retired now. At the time, I didn't know him. He was the listing agent for that property, and I told Alex that I had a goal. I was going to buy like 20 houses like that in the next 5 years. And he thought I was like, whatever. He thought I was full of crap, just whatever. He just, buy the damn house and go away. And then, like a month later I brought another one, and a month later I brought another one, and a month later I brought another one. I started to get his attention. And he later on told me that, he was laughing at me when I first told him that.
Right.
I was like, this little punk, he's not going to do anything. And now he wished that he was younger so he could partner with me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Alex in years, but I actually just called him a few months ago just to see how he's doing. He's been retired. He's in his late 70s.
Okay.
But,
so now your strategy. So you started with single fams. Is that what your main?
It was a 3-unit, the first one.
And then you started building. Now, what does your portfolio look like right now?
I've got a bunch of different kind of properties. The majority of my units are in apartment buildings. The mid-size. The space that I like is like 10 to 20 units. The units in that space, they're too small for the big guys, and they're too big for most of the small guys. So I've got like an 18 unit, a 15, a 14, a 13, and then I've got a 7, and then a bunch of like 1s, 2s, 3, 4 unit buildings. The most of them are apartments. I've got some commercial places that I don't like, but they came with the buildings.
Why don't you like the commercial?
More, you know what? More turnover. They're like neighborhood commercial. It's not like a a corner
retail.
with a Walgreens
Right.
on it with a 30-year triple net lease.
Right.
They're like
Was it like
mom and
corner
pop,
store?
corner store, hair salon,
Mom and pop.
churches, stuff like that.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
one
they're-
guy that makes false teeth.
Wow.
He's got like a place, like literally, if you go in there, and it's kind of creepy, there's like teeth laying all over the place. But he's been there for 20
boy.
years. He's an excellent tenant.
Okay.
It's just kind of creepy.
So-
and you see those teeth laying on the table, and you're like, one day they're going to be in somebody's mouth. And I mean, it's like
Yeah.
if those people saw those teeth right now, they probably wouldn't want them. Sorry,
That is funny.
sorry.
That's funny. I've never heard anybody walking in and seeing teeth underneath.
All over the place. Yeah.
So right now you're still building, correct? You're still looking for deals out there, or what is or has your focus changed a little bit with over time?
My focus changes all the time because I get bored. So there was a time where I said, I'm only going to buy these larger apartment buildings. I was looking for vacant ones that need a renovation, and they only come up like once a year. And then I told a friend of mine that she was really killing it in this one little neighborhood that she was buying in. Like, she was really doing well, and she said, "Well, if it's so good, then why aren't you buying here?" I was like, "You don't mind?" Like, I was always afraid I was going to step on her toes, and I didn't want to upset her. And she said, "No, I don't. No, I want you to." So I think I bought like 8 or 9 houses in the next year in that neighborhood, and then I stopped for a while, and then I just get.
So you look
Comes
for
and
the
goes.
deals as long as it matches your return.
If it's a deal in a neighborhood that I'm not afraid to walk around in, then I'm interested. If the numbers work, hopefully I get some equity. That's always nice, and it's in a decent area. Then I'm ready.
So that's how you hit. So it's one of those things that I tell everybody is you want to look. Well, first things first is your return, right? You want to make sure that it matches. It has what you want.
Yes.
And then you want to look in the holding period. So would you, like you said, would you walk on that neighborhood at night?
That's a good question.
Would
That's a
that
good
be
question.
something you would do without having any concern?
And, right, and you should, even where I live at, I'm always you want to be aware of your surroundings. You don't want
Correct.
to stand on the corner and count your money.
Correct.
You don't want to walk out, have the tenant hand you a big stack of cash, and there's dudes sitting on the corner looking at you. You gotta be be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
Always.
So is that a concern being in Baltimore? What's some of the safety measures that you have in place?
I grew up in Baltimore,
Okay.
so I'm comfortable there. It's not for everybody, but I'm not in the really bad neighborhoods.
Okay.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. So I saw a guy get shot 6 months ago. That's a long story.
Oh, wow.
And anyway, so what was the question? Yeah, as far as the areas go, really, it's going to depend on what your own personal comfort level is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel comfortable buying anything in Cincinnati because I don't know Cincinnati. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah, which goes back to knowing your market. You really do. You either have to delegate or work with people that know the market, or you have to investigate and really do your due diligence with it.
Yes,
That's exactly.
and the smart way, you can do this now. I didn't know how to do it 15 years ago, but find other people that are where you want to be.
Yeah.
And then model them. Say, listen, hey, I love what you're doing. Can I take you out to lunch? I'd love to just hear your story. That's it. Just want to hear their story. The truth is, most people that are doing well, the winners, want to tell their story, and they
That's
want to
true.
see you do well too.
That's true.
The losers, I don't care if you've got 1,000 units. If you're not willing to share that knowledge, you're a loser.
agree.
The winners are the ones that want to see
Share.
other people do well.
Yeah.
And they're out there. You just have to ask, and never be intimidated by somebody. I don't care if the guy's got 1 unit or 100 or 1,000. Don't ever be intimidated by any of these people.
Yeah.
That's a great word of advice, because a lot of people, including myself, if I can be honest, sometimes it is intimidating if you're looking or dealing with people that have X amount. I mean, they started somewhere, right? I mean, they had to start somewhere.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, most of them do.
Have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
If they're idiots and they're, then they might act like snobs. You don't need those people. There's other nice people out there that'll be willing to talk to you and help you.
Right,
Give you some advice.
So if you were starting today, what would you tell a person that's starting today? They're looking for their very first property.
Man,
Like,
I
what would you tell them?
love telling people that. And here's what I tell them: the first thing, the most important thing, is your reputation. It is your most valuable asset above anything else. That and time, obviously. I know this, that if I lost everything that I own today, I would get it back in half the amount of time, and I would do a better job because of my reputation. People are going to want to help me. They're going to want to work with me. They're going to want to lend me money. They're going to want to work for me because of my reputation. So that is absolutely the most important thing.
It's reputation.
It takes a lifetime to build a good reputation, and one bad deal to ruin it. So that's the most important thing. The second most important thing I would say is networking, hands down networking. The more people that you know, the more help that's available, the more help that you can give to other people that are coming behind you, and the more deals that come your way. So the networking thing is absolutely. So I still, at this stage, still go to RIAs, still go to meetups. I have a regular Friday lunch that I attend. Because it gives me a chance to talk to other people and help other people, and then sometimes deals come to me, and I'm not there specifically looking for them. It's just a result of being there. You're not going to catch fish sitting in your living room.
That's true. So you got to be out there networking. So build your reputation and make sure you preserve your reputation.
Absolutely.
And then network and meet as much people as like-minded individuals.
Like-minded,
right?
yeah,
That's
of
where
course.
you have to go.
Right. You don't want to go hang on the corner with the guys selling drugs. Like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, fellas. Let's go get lunch.
And a couple of things that you mentioned, some RIAs. I mean, and we kind of emphasize this throughout the shows that we do, is you have to seek those people that have what you want.
Network.
And just reach out to them. And I think that's a very good word of advice, is not to never be intimidated by it.
No, not at all.
By what they have.
If you go to a typical RIA meeting, if there's 100 people in there, 50 of them have never done a deal. And there's going to be like a group of 5 people at the top that might own 10, 15, 20, 30 properties. And they're there hoping that you're going to bring them a deal. Yeah, that's why they're there. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you can also learn a lot from those people as well. So.
Okay, so we learned a little bit about where you come from, your first deal, a little bit about what you're doing right now. Let's jump into the actual show. And a lot of people are probably wondering, okay, so the first thing is
Got a couple questions. Also
questions?
here.
Okay.
Yeah. First question: how do you manage 100 units by yourself? How is your phone not ringing off the hook? That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Here's what happens. Like when I say manage, like I don't do the hands-on. I'm not cleaning toilets. I'm not hanging drywall. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I have found out, first thing that I do is I have a master key. The key that opens my house opens all my units. And I have 6 guys that work for me and a friend full-time for many years. They do our turnovers. If I'm doing a retail rehab, they do the work on that. But they're not the mechanicals. I have a different plumber, different electrician, different HVAC guy, different carpet guy, different exterminator, and all those people have that key. So right now, if I were in Florida and a tenant moved out, I would have my painter go over and he would give me, tell me, here's what's wrong with the unit. And then he would tell the other guys that work for us, and they would come over and fix them. And he would say, hey, the carpet's got some burns in it. And I would call the carpet guy. And he would say, hey, the refrigerator handle's broken. And then his son that works for us would call Tribbles, the appliance parts place, and he would order the handle. And by the time I get back, the carpet's installed, the house is painted, all the little dumb repairs are made, the refrigerator handle's put on. If the house isn't lead free, if I need a lead cert, I can text the lady that does my lead cert. She's going to come over, do the white test, and then I have tenant placement people that oftentimes will fill the units for me. So sometimes I'll have a vacant unit. The people will move out, everything, all the repairs will be done, and I'll have another tenant, and I've never even seen the unit. And it's relationships. It's absolutely relationships. When you have people that work for you, whether it's an HVAC person or a plumber or whoever, and like they're done the job, like pay them. Like don't make them wait 10 days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like that's like really dumb. You're gonna ruin your reputation. Pay them as soon as the job is done. Don't nitpick, because I don't never nitpick with the people that work for me. I just don't call them for the next job. I call somebody else. But in the event I get in a pinch and I really need them, when I call them, I don't want them to be thinking, man, that asshole, remember he got on my case about that one thing. Like, I don't want them thinking that. I want them to be glad that I'm calling to give them work. So I don't want to burn any bridges. So the master key system helps me out tremendously. I have one key and I have 20 tenant keys. So that all the 20 tenant keys are all different. So they can't like all open each other's units, but my key opens all of them. And again, so all the trades guys have them, the guys that work for me have them. And so that's one of the things. Another thing that I've done that really makes my life simple is, like, I mean, I put as much stuff on auto pay as I can. Like, I mean, Netflix, my car payment, insurance stuff, all the mortgages, all the utilities. I wish I could put the water bills on auto pay. Unfortunately, I can't. But those are easy to take. You know, I can pay 30 water bills in less than a half hour. So, because I pay them online, so it's very simple. So those are some of the things that I've done. I typically work about 2 hours a day. My phone doesn't ring off the hook. If I don't recognize a number, I don't answer it. If it's important to leave a message or send me a text, and if they don't, then I don't call them back. Because a lot of those calls are people looking for apartments and stuff like that. And so and here's what happens. Like, here, I'll give you, this is some like real examples. Like, I was just going somewhere a couple nights ago, and a tenant sent me a text message that they locked themselves out. I called my painter and I said, hey, Joe, can you run over to Gwynns Falls and let this tenant in? And he said, sure, no problem. And he went and he let him in. You know what I mean? That's like, and I could have done that from anywhere in the country. If I leave the country, then I have my voicemail forwarded to somebody else, and then they take care of my problems. I have some friends that are in the same business, and so we watch each other's backs. If one of them goes away, I take care of their stuff. If I get away, they take care of my stuff.
Which is very, very important. Now, a couple of things. I love that system, but I kind of have to say, there's a lot of trust there, because you say you give the keys to the maintenance people, right?
Yep.
So how do you choose the right person to trust?
Well, it is trust. The 6 guys that work for us, they've been working for us for years, and I trust them 100%. I mean, they have the key to my house,
right?
So if I leave the country, like, they got a key to my house.
Yeah, and we're talking about like more than 5 people that have them.
Yeah, the trades guys are all. I mean, there's people I've known for years that I trust, that I built up. You know, I mean, if the carpet guy's been in business for 20 years laying carpet, and he lays carpet for 15 people that everybody loves him.
Yeah. Okay, that's a very, very good point.
Yeah, then you can very much trust him, and he's going into vacant units. So, Okay. Do you have cameras? I know I asked you, but outside. In some of the apartment buildings, I have cameras, not all of them.
Just to make sure that that everything is happening. Just
yeah,
double check.
Mostly in the laundry room. Make sure nobody's stealing quarters from me. It's a long story. You don't want to know.
Okay, so basically, so that answers your question. What's her name? Dassy. Thanks for asking that question. Which, by the way, guys, any questions you guys have on regards to buy and hold, acquisition, tenant placement, holding period, evictions, or anything like that, make sure you comment below on the comment box, because we want to give you everything you guys need to be successful. And we got Mark Owens here. I mean, hey, I called you again a super landlord. Why? Yeah. Because who does that? You're managing a lot of units, but the thing is,
my wife would never believe that anybody called me super anyway.
Well, I think so, because look, I manage my 10 units. And I put some time into it, but I think
it's harder to manage 10.
Yeah, well, after you have to automate, right? You have to automate.
When you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my job.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else.
Right.
So it's just a lot easier.
That's true. Very true.
And also, I mean, this is another important thing.
Yeah.
Like, my ringer's off right now. So if somebody calls me, like, I'm not answering the phone. My ringer's off. When I go to bed tonight, my ringer's off. And so if the building burns down, well, don't call me. Call 911. I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah. That's true.
If there's a flood or something, it's only water. I mean, is it going to do some damage? Yeah, maybe. I'll deal with it in the morning. I'm not going to run over there at 2 o'clock in the morning to turn the water off. A lot of it's just preventive maintenance stuff, where, like, you show the tenants, like, how to turn off the water in the toilet or underneath the sinks. I don't always do it. I probably should. But
which goes to, you had a couple good suggestions earlier with the videos for tenants.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Yeah, I thought about putting these videos together, like, show my tenants, like,
you definitely should do that.
You can do one video and just show them, like, how to turn off the water underneath the kitchen sink and behind the toilet, and maybe in the basement, like, the main water shut off, or what to do, like, you know, if you hear that beeping sound, yeah, that's your smoke detector. Like, change the batteries. Don't put them in the remote to your television.
Yeah.
Change the batteries.
So Mike has a question. He says, Mike Kuster, thanks for commenting, by the way. He says, how do you handle evictions and dealing with the court system?
Man, that's another, it's a secret.
That's a secret. Come on, Mark, you got to disclose, man.
I use a company. And listen, when I say the answer to this question, I'm going to tell you who I use in Baltimore City, and I think they work in other areas of Maryland. I have not endorsing them. I don't have anything to do with them, but I use a company called ClickNotices.com.
Okay.
There are a bunch of other companies that do it. Some may do a better job, might be cheaper. I don't know. So what you do is you log in, you create your account, and then if, say, like, you know, one of your tenants, Bill, hasn't paid his rent, and it's like the middle of the month and you're pissed off. So you log in, you create the tenant account. So you put, like, you know, Bill Hill, you know, Main Street. You put all that information in there, and then you click new service, rent court, and then you just select Bill Hill, and then you say he owes for March rent $750. Submit. Then they're going to take you to a page. You pay for it, and then they're going to, like, go to court for you and represent you. And then after you win the case, which is like 99% of the time, despite all the BS you hear about, like, if you do everything you're supposed to do, you're going to win 99% of the time. Then you got to wait a week, and then you got to file what's called a put out. You do that online. And then you wait 15 days, you call the sheriff, you schedule the eviction, and then from that point forward, I take over. I'll go, like, mail the thing from the post office to the tenant. I'll go post something on the front door, and then in the morning of the eviction, either I'll show up or the guys that work for me will show up with a change of locks and you know, everything else.
You can really automate this thing. That's incredible. For you guys that don't know, I mean, that little piece of advice.
I haven't been to rent court. I think I went maybe once because there was some kind of discrepancy with something. So I did go one time, and it made me sick, because what'll happen is, like, one tenant will get up there and say, well, I wasn't paying my rent because the toilet was leaking and it was coming in the kitchen. And then the judge will find in favor of the tenant. And then, like, the next tenants come up and say, well, I wasn't paying my rent because the toilet was leaking from the kitchen. And the judges will just keep going. But I'm like, my toilets don't leak. If they leak, then you better call me and tell me, and I'll fix it. And or the guys that work for me.
Could you repeat that site again so people can understand?
ClickNotices.com. That's the name of the company that I use. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not affiliated with it. There's other ones that do it. Landlord 411 is another one. That guy, Brian, I can't remember his last name. He does a fantastic job. I know other people that use him. He's very responsive with, like, state legislative things and all that. He does a very good job.
How much does that service usually cost?
They charge me less. So I don't want to tell you what it's going to cost you. They charge me less because I've been with them for years and years, and because I have a lot.
Is there like a range, or
it's like $50-$60 maybe $60 to go to rent court. But here's the deal: it's like if you go to rent court, it's going to cost you $20 to file,
like 2-3 hours.
And you got to pay for your the parking the first time you go down to get the paperwork, and then you got to pay for your parking the second time you go down there. And then it says, oh, the court starts at 9. The judge is playing, like, freaking solitaire or on Facebook till like 9:30. You know, so they're going to start late, and then you're already pissed off, right? Because you were on time, and then the judge is like, whatever they're doing in their chamber.
I love that. I love that. I thank you. That was very big nugget for people that are looking in here. I have a couple other questions. It says, are you more of a repair or replace type of landlord?
Depends on what it is. If the toilet's running, I repair it. I'm not going to replace a toilet if all I need is a flapper.
Correct.
I typically... It depends. It depends. You know, if the carpet's dirty, I'll have my guys, shampoo it. If it's torn, then I'll replace it. So it just depends.
So I guess that will run into the next thing there. So if you're picking up a property, are you looking at a lifespan of, like, a floor or toilet, cabinets? Like, what's your rules with that?
I don't have any, man. Because I mean, there may be averages, but I replace when it needs to be replaced. I have very low expectations, so I'm constantly happy. Because if I set my expectations down here and things are always exceeding my expectations, then I'm a happy guy. So that works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody. I'm not saying it's the best. That just is what works for me. I have the big basket approach, right? Like, if you could buy, like, you get a bag of French fries from McDonald's, and then there's like that one like brown like limp one. You're like, what the hell is this? You just throw it out and eat the rest, right?
Yeah.
You don't like say, shit, I'm not eating these French fries because it's got this one. If you got a whole bag full of them, then your life sucks, right? Yeah. But I mean, I'm just looking at the good fries. I don't care about the couple bad ones at the bottom.
Right. That's a good way of
tenants
putting
are
it.
like that. Cabinets are like that. Everything's like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so another question. Did it get easier or harder to get financing as you were scaling up? Christian, thanks for the question.
In the beginning, it was 10% down. I had good credit. I still have good credit. Credit is extremely important. That falls under the reputation category. So you want to make sure that your credit's good. If it's not, stuff happens. If it's not good, fix it.
Build it up. Yep.
I've never had a problem with financing as far as actually getting it. The problem is that I have a very low tolerance for like BS, and the banks are full of it. And so they'll say, yeah, you know, your loan's approved, you're ready to go. And then 2 days before, oh, but we need this. And it's like, really? You want 100 leases? Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. Now they're all on Dropbox. I sent you a link. Now you can print them out. And I'm not going to print them and like send them to you. You can download them and print them yourself, burn up your toner or whatever.
Do you think they look at all of them?
No. They just check it off a box. Got the leases.
That is true. I'm refinancing a duplex, and they say bring me the leases, email me the leases. Oh, the duplex, I can do that very quickly. No, all of them.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Right. You can send them like leases for like Disney World, and they wouldn't
it.
even know it.
Yeah.
No, you put them in Dropbox. Create a little folder in there, and you just send them a link.
Yeah. We do have another question. What portion of your rentals are HUD? We are trying to decide if we should start renting to HUD applicants in Ohio. Thank you, Tracy.
That is an excellent question. About 65 to 70% of my residential rentals are voucher based. They're in Baltimore, where I'm at. There are different. There's Section 8, which is what everybody knows about, and then there's another program called MBQ, which is like Section 8 on steroids. But then there are all these other little programs that have grants that are administered from HUD, and I can't remember exactly what the grant is called. But what happens is HUD gives money to this Baltimore City government office called Baltimore City like Homeless Services. And then Homeless Services takes that money and they give grants to all these nonprofit organizations that provide housing to people with different types of handicaps or disabilities. I have many of my tenants 30 years ago would have been homeless because of mental health issues that they have. And what happened, like even further back, they were in mental hospitals in the 70s, and then in the early 80s they said, oh, that's inhumane, you can't do that. So they shut down the mental hospitals, and then they wound up in the street, and then they said, oh my God, all these homeless people, you can't do that, it's inhumane. And then they put them in my house. But it works well because they have caseworkers that are helping them to make sure that they're getting the things that they need, whether it's medication or counseling or whatever. Some of them have a few tenants that were in prison, they got out. They're in these reentry programs. They're typically older in their 40s, 50s, where they don't want any more trouble. And they've been excellent tenants. So I use a lot of those programs. And one of the things that I'll tell you that I've found works really well for me and is really a benefit for me, and it's also a benefit from them, is this networking thing. So a tenant moves in, and I'll call the caseworker, and I'll just say, hey, listen, I just want to give you an update. Mr. Blank moved in 3 weeks ago. He got locked out of his apartment the first night. We went over and let him in. He just forgot his keys, but he's been a great tenant. Haven't had any complaints. Everything's good. His unit's clean. So I just wanted to let you know. And by the way, if you need any other units, give me a call. Oh, we do. We're looking for a 2-bedroom. Do you have one? Yeah, I do. I mean, that's why I called you. So always keep those lines of communication open. I used to work in the computer business when I was in that. I'm constantly calling people and just staying in contact. So when a unit comes up and they're like, hey, we need a unit, call Mark. I'm the first guy they think of. And also, I do my job. So I realize that many of these tenants have issues. That's why they're on these programs.
Right.
And I work very well with those people because they might not take care of the units the best. They might not be the cleanest. They have other issues, but it works really well. I'm very compassionate. I understand. I'm just one bad day away from being one of them myself. And many of us have had family members that have mental health issues. So it's a compassion thing, but it's also, it works. They've got people that are helping them out. They usually pay all the rent or 90% of it. So it works really well. I've got one building. I have an 18-unit building. I think there's only 2 people in it that work. The other.
So to answer your question, Tracy, I think it could work out very well.
Yeah,
You just have
it has.
Yeah, and obviously I think most of them, they send you checks or they wire.
The Section 8 does. Section 8 MBQ do direct deposit, and the rest send checks.
Okay.
That's like my favorite part of the job, is getting the mail.
Yeah.
Every day I get the mail, it's like opening a birthday present. It's like sometimes you get something you don't want, like a citation, but
Yeah, Mark, I tell all
good.
my friends that are starting, because most of them work, they're making 50 to 70K, but they dislike their job. I mean, they hate it. Some of them really hate it, waking up in the morning.
Hate when it happens.
Now, what happens is I tell them, well, at the end of the month, either you're going to have to, pay your landlord or pick up your check from your tenant, right? You kind of have that mentality. You're going to give out a check or receive a check. And I think you have a choice, especially if you're in your 20s.
Listen, I'm going to say this, because this is like really, really important.
Yeah.
Keep your job as long as you can, because the refis are going to be so much easier when you got a W-2. Like, just keep it until you can't stand it anymore, and then keep it a little while longer.
What if you're an entrepreneur, but your income it's increasing every year? I mean, that helps, obviously. Or would you recommend them to stay with a 9 to 5?
I would say stay with the 9 to 5 as long as you can until you build up enough income where you can walk away from it.
Okay.
Because the reason I say that is because when you go to do the refis, if you're like a new landlord, like you bought 10 units in the last year, and you got a job and you're making $70,000 a year, and then you quit that job and you want to go buy 3 more houses, and they're going to say, well, you don't have enough experience. You don't have enough income.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. I think you have to build at least 2 years history of your rentals, right?
At least.
Yeah,
the longer you can do it, the better. Really. That sucks, but man, I'm just the advice that I'm giving you has stood the test of time. I've seen a lot of people that jump ship early. They celebrate too early, and they get burned most of the time.
Okay.
So just hold out as long as you can.
Yeah. I definitely agree, especially because I'm going through a refi, and they absolutely look at your rental history. And if you have no rental history and then you're trying to do something creative with them, I mean, there's no relationship there. There's no past track record. So make sure you look into. I think that's an amazing tip for somebody that's in 9 to 5 right now.
Something else I want to say: if you watch Gary Vee, man, document all your stuff, man. Just document it. I wish I had documented more stuff, but when I started, camera, cell phones didn't have cameras, I mean, none of that. So
when I was in middle school, I had flip phones, right? The razors.
When you were in middle school. You were in middle school.
It was fun, but going back to let's see. Whoa, thanks for the tip. Yeah, Cristhian actually started this year. He bought his duplex and a half a duplex. He actually came to our meetup more than 3 months ago, and then he took action right away. Yeah. And he's on a 9 to 5, and I always tell him, well, because he wants to get out, right? It's perfect for him.
I don't blame him.
And what I told them, my advice to them is this: look, if you have hustle and you don't have a lot of responsibilities, get an emergency fund. If you're really gonna do that, don't just jump shit, without really having any. But his tip is even better.
The financing part, and
I didn't think about that.
I'll second that also.
I agree with that. 100%.
Is just if you do have a job out there, it is a lot easier to get financing having that job. I actually built up a decent rental portfolio and then left the job, but then I still had some of those little bumps that he's talking about to where they were like, hey.
I actually agree with Mark heavily, but the way I did it, I was working for the Navy making $55,000, $60,000 after college. 9 months, could not do it. Hated it. People retired every month. I did not like it, so I jumped ship. But I did have 3 months.
Jump ship in the Navy. He's in the Navy. He jumped ship.
Well, no, I was a contractor.
Okay.
But it was 3 months of emergency fund, right? So I just jumped into real estate. I did pretty good, but I worked my butt off to get there. Yeah. So it's one of those things.
Both ways work.
Yeah, both ways works. But I think he's right. I think the safest thing to do is to stay in a 9 to 5, at least to acquire a couple rentals to cover you, at least to cash flow, right?
As long as you can.
Yeah, I agree with Mark on that one. I didn't think about that before, but now he really expanded that. Thanks, Cristhian, for asking that question. Okay, so let's go back really quick. We're going to talk a little bit about acquisition, how to find a good deal, and the holding period. We talked about tenant placement already, but what about finding the deal? How are you finding deals right now, Mark?
I've actually found a lot of deals just walking around neighborhoods, literally walking around. Talking to people, you see a little FSBO sign, in the window.
Yeah.
Those, man, I get them everywhere. Auctions, MLS. I bought properties from other wholesalers. I have literally like talk to people in front of their houses and ended up like buying the house that they live in.
Do you do
like
any
a lot of those
direct mail or anything?
I've done a lot of wholesaling, a lot.
Okay.
And in fact, I have another business with a friend where him and I had started wholesaling maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We ended up like buying half the deals we got. So I think we have like 14 units right now in that business, and then it just got to be too hard, so we stopped wholesaling. And then of course I just started again like a couple months ago. But the deals are out there. Again, as I've said before, like the more people you talk to, the more people that know you, the more people you interact with, the more deals that are going to come your way every time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you do a little bit of everything, but lately it's more just walking around.
It's a lot of one-off stuff where it's just like you can't reproduce it. You know, I see a lady coming out of her house and I say, "Hey, good morning. Hey, by the way, do you know this guy that owns a house across the street?" And I ended up getting her house and another house under contract because her landlord passed away and the house is in the state. Like, you can't reproduce that.
Yeah, that's true.
I see guys working in a house next door to a house that I bought a house at a FSBO sign. I bought that. And then a couple of weeks later, I see guys working on the house next door. Hey, the owners, they want to sell this. Well, I think they might. Here, give them my number. And ended up buying that house. I mean, it's like the one-off stuff where you can't reproduce it.
Yeah.
Anybody can look on MLS. Anybody can send out postcards or
walking,
bandit signs or any of that stuff.
Talking to people.
But these things, like those little oddball things like that, man, it's actually a gold.
That's a great tip, especially for people that are trying to wholesale, don't have much money, but they want to know the marketplace. Walking around, driving for dollars. I mean, that works.
If you want to get to know the market, I'm going to tell you the way to do it. And then this is what I tell all my clients that I coach. You want to find a real estate agent that is, don't get like, you know, your aunt that like sold a house 3 years ago. Like, don't do that.
Don't do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't get like, you know, your spouse's like friend or something like that. You want to find a real estate agent that owns investments, that knows the game.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. And I tell everybody that.
Yeah, you want to find a full-time agent, a professional agent. Then what you want to do is you want to sit down with them and you want to find out, and this is where the information you get from the RIAs and talking to other people. What areas are people buying in? In Baltimore, it'd be Bel Air, Edison, maybe Evanston Village, maybe Lakeland, maybe Brooklyn, maybe Parkville. And then you want to sit down with that agent and have them set you up with an auto search in MLS, where every day, and you don't want to just see the ones that are active. You want to see active listings. You want to see stuff that goes under contract. You want to see stuff that's sold. And you want to have these things emailed to you. It takes the agent 15 minutes to put it together. It's going to last for years, unless you like disable it. And then you spend your Saturday or Sunday, you print out your list and you drive around, you say, okay, this one got active, this one's under contract, this one's sold. Let's just drive by and take a look at them. And that's how you're going to learn your market. So if you see that houses, I'm going to make up a street, on Kenyon Avenue in Baltimore City, you see they're listed for, in the 3200 block they're selling for in the 40s, in the 3600 block they're selling in the 80s, and then you see one in the 3600 block that's listed in the 40s. Oh man, let's hurry up, get down there, that's a deal. Well, how do you know? Because you've been following the market. I mean, you've been driving around looking at the damn houses for
which
6
is
months.
part of the hustle. You guys have to see. A lot of people say I don't have the money to get started. Well, this is a perfect example. Just knowing your market doesn't cost you anything.
Well, that's where you can provide value to other investors, you know, to other wholesalers. I mean, I partnered up with a wholesaler when I first started wholesaling. I partnered up with a successful wholesaler. Made a lot of money. Made a lot of money. When I started doing retail rehabs, I partnered up with somebody else that had never done them. And we both learned together, and it worked really well. It didn't work that well because I stopped doing it for years, but we didn't like lose any money. We learned a tremendous amount, so it worked really well in that sense. You can always partner with people if you don't have any money. People, you either need money or time. And you know, if you don't have any money, but you got plenty of time, you can help the people that do have money. I've met a lot of people that have a lot of money and they don't have any time.
Yeah, and the people that you want to partner with also realize that. So if you bring value to the table, they're going to want to do something with you.
And there's another thing about this business that is important is, you know, to be successful in this business, there are two things you need. You need knowledge and you need guts or balls.
Balls.
Yeah.
You need balls.
I didn't want to say it, man. I didn't want to say it.
No, I see.
So
you need
it's
them.
a family hour. So if you have balls and you got no knowledge, you're gonna do something real dumb.
True.
And all of us guys have done a lot of dumb stuff, right?
Yeah,
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
So you want to have the knowledge.
Charles is like, yeah.
But if you've
Almost
got
every day.
But if you have a lot of knowledge and you don't have any balls, you're not going to do anything. You're going to say, well, I read this book and I read that and I went to this seminar and I went to that. How many met seminars?
You need a balance.
Right? They spend thousands of dollars on seminars and they go to a seminar and then they're sold the next seminar. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, they spend 35 grand in fortune builders and they haven't done a deal. Yeah. It's like, well, you got the knowledge, you don't have the balls. You need to have both.
I agree. I
100%.
asked the guy at our last meetup. I was like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" He was like, "I want to pick up a buy and hold property." I was like, "Okay." I said, "What's holding you back?" He was thinking money. I was like, oh, okay, that's easy to fix. That's not a hard problem. I said, "What's your credit score?" He's like, "Oh, it's 800 and something." Why don't you have a buy and hold? Like, what is going on here?
He needs a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more balls. You got a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of balls.
Which was good for him because I told him, I said, you don't have a problem. You just think you have a problem.
The fear. So. It's like, like we were talking to Rush, the fear of the commercial loan, the balloon at the 5 year. It's all about that. It's about kind of that fear stopping you stop focusing on just the negative, focus on the positive.
It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about this. Like, what happens a lot of times, he was talking specifically about his wife, where he was talking about he wanted to go on a vacation, and he's told her, "Listen, we can go anywhere you want to go." And she's like, "Well, my passport's about to expire, and I don't want to leave the dog home alone. I don't have enough vacation." Like, she's looking for all these obstacles. And this guy, he's a smart guy. He's like, every time she says something like that, okay, you can renew your passport, your father can watch the dog, we can wait till you have enough vacation. Like, there's ways around it.
Yes,
and so there's people, like, and this is a different skill. Like, there are people that are saying, well, I can't do this because of this. The people that make shit happen are the ones that say, well, I can do it because I'm going to find a way around this. I don't have money, I'm going to find a way to get money. I don't have the time, I'm going to find a way to get time. I don't have time or money, I'm going to find a way to get both. And there's always a way around stuff, always. And the people that are able to figure that shit out, that are able to figure out ways around those things, they're the ones that are going to kill it. Yeah. But it's something you can learn. It takes practice. Like, if you're one of those people that are always seeing obstacles, it sounds like we're in Baltimore. You hear that? So I thought right at home. So there's always ways around it. So what you have to ask yourself is, anytime you're saying, well, I can't do this because of this, and just stop and just sit down and just define the problem. Just define it. What is the problem? And is that really the problem? Or are you just using that as an excuse because you don't want to do it, or you have some fear or something like that? And if you're cool and you don't have the fear or anything like that really is the problem, like you can't get off work on Saturdays, then you find a way around that. Then you do it on Sunday.
So throughout your picking up all the units that you have, like, what was one of the biggest struggles that you had? Like, whatever it may be, did you ever hit like a cash crunch? Man, this really went south. Those type of things. Like, what was one of the biggest?
That's funny because, how do I put this? Like, I feel like I have never. This is gonna. Like, I don't mean this to sound arrogant or anything, but like, I've never made a mistake.
Okay.
Never. I'm going to tell you why, because you're gonna agree that you never have either.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to explain to you what I mean by mistake. When every decision that I make in real estate, in most areas of my life, I try, is based on the information that I have available at the time. I'm not the Monday morning quarterback kind of guy. So if I know this and I make a decision based on this information, and then I find out additional information later on and shit went bad, that's not a mistake. I didn't know. I mean, I dealt with what, a mistake is like, you meet somebody in a club and like you don't use birth control, that's a mistake. Because you knew better. It's like I better wrap it up, and you didn't, and something happens. Like, man, you effed up.
Yeah.
So in real estate, I haven't made any mistakes.
I think I know exactly what you're saying. You're right. I mean, you're doing the right decision with the knowledge that you have at the time. Now, but it's always great to kind of, like you mentioned, network. But there's so much knowledge.
Things haven't always worked out the way I wanted them to work out. Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. But that's just part of the business. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'll use a lot of analogies. Like a car. Are you going to say, man, shit, I'm not gonna buy a car. I mean, I might get a flat tire one day. You know, like I'm gonna have to get gas, and mechanic might rip me off. You know, I might get lost. You know, driving somewhere. Like, are you gonna let that stop you? I mean, that's crazy.
That sounds familiar. Like people saying, "Oh, people are gonna call me at 2 a.m.
Never.
That this and that."
They can call.
That is a beautiful
my ringer's
analogy.
off.
Do you see how? Do you see the connector?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna use that.
My ringer is off at 2 in the morning.
So we also had another question
Yes.
here. Mark, is any good online tools to research the market?
What about Christian? You're missing. He says, do you target any specific list when you when you market when you get?
Yeah, when I do like when I send out
Mailings?
postcards or mail letters or something like that, we typically look for people that are non-owner occupants for one.
Okay.
And we want to have people that have owned the house for, it used to be at least 10 years, because we don't want to, if they just bought it 2 years ago, I'm not going to send them a yellow letter.
Yeah.
So non-owner occupants, and also we don't want to send letters to people that have properties in areas that like we don't want to buy it. You know, because I'm typically like when I get it under contract, if I can't find a buyer, then I'm buying it. I don't use all that weasel clause BS. Again, it's back to reputation. So if I get it under contract, somebody's buying it.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
That's what we're talking about.
Actually, the last show we were talking about some people that keep putting all those contingencies and they're not performing.
And I was arguing that it could be there's a fine line that you need to have. I mean, if you haven't seen the property, you need an inspection.
Well, if you haven't seen the property, you shouldn't be getting under contract.
Right, yeah. Or like Charles was saying, it just shows that you're a newbie if you really have any contingencies.
There's people like they'll put in like, I'll settle with 120 business days.
Yeah.
What do you mean business days? Why don't you just tell them 160 days? Why are you trying to mislead them? Or they'll say,
never even heard of that.
Pending approval by my business partner.
Yeah, I did.
Up to the last minute. Like, who's your business partner?
Yeah.
Oh, it could be your
I
dog.
just seen an offer like that. And
I think you told me about that.
What does this even mean?
Yeah.
That's just like they're just trying to mislead people. It's just sleazy.
And thanks Mark for commenting. Is there any good online tools to research the market?
Man, that is your feet walking around, driving around. That's the best thing. Like Zillow, like no. Anything like that. The best thing in this part of the country is MRIS or MLS. The best thing.
Yeah.
You want to work with an agent that can provide you with those types of tools. That's like the gold standard right there. But nothing is better than you driving around and getting to know the streets. Like nothing works better than that. I mean, we could probably name areas of where you invest, and if I gave you a
North
house
Mulberry.
address. Yeah, then you'd say like, they're worth this, and this is what's
absolutely.
Renovate them. So you know your market.
I think Mark brings a great point. So make sure you work with a real estate agent that specializes. Get an expire list, a sold list, an under contract list, an available, active list.
Everything.
And go around that specific neighborhood, learn everything about the comparables, how much it's selling, and other multiple neighborhoods around. And that's how you find deals and you anticipate, where they're going to be. So next question. So if my credit's good, I'm in good shape to invest, even if I don't have all the cash on hand right now. That's what he says.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to start over knowing what I know now, like I don't use any of my money to buy anything. But that's the knowledge that it took me years to acquire. There's this thing that they got on Bigger Pockets called the Burr strategy. Like I thought I invented that because
I did too.
I used hard money, to do retail flips. And then I thought, I'm going to use hard money to buy this apartment building, and then I'm going to refi out. Instead of selling it, I'm going to refi.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, and I thought I invented that shit. And then I saw it. It was called the Burr method. I'm like, man, I was using the Burr method when Bigger Pockets was still like in like the third grade. Yeah. Like they weren't even in real estate. And I thought I invented it. So I should have trademarked that or something. I should have invented Bigger Pockets.
Yeah. So
I got biggest pockets. That's going to be my website.
Hey Nelson, so to answer your question, I mean, you could always partner with somebody. I mean, if you don't have...
If you've got good credit and you don't have a lot of money, you can figure it out.
Nelson's in a great position. I've been telling him that for too long now.
Oh, Nelson?
Nelson, all you need to do is just take action.
Are you yelling at Nelson? Like,
I am yelling at him.
Nelson, we got you.
I've told him it's been long.
Don't say his last name.
It's been his last name's already on there.
No,
That's
Nelson, it's all
brutal.
good. Nelson,
Yeah.
we want to help you
Brutal.
out here.
He
Thanks
knows
for the
it,
question.
and he needs somebody out there to tell him to just take action.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he knows that. He needs to take action.
Okay.
Nelson, you need to take action.
Yeah, yeah. So acquisition, we talked about finding a deal. Now the buy and hold period, the hold period, which we talk about tenant placement. You say you automate that.
As much as I can. I mean, some of it, a lot of that's just relationship based.
We're also running a little long here also. So
Okay.
what is the main point
Yeah.
that you think everybody should definitely get?
Yeah, like 3 things that you would
Yeah.
recommend a buy and hold investor to be successful in this business.
The 3 things.
Yeah,
Wow.
most important.
Reputation,
Okay.
networking, and knowing your market.
Okay, perfect.
Why are we done? I mean, we got plenty of
I
time.
know.
We got plenty of time.
Well, I think we kind of we usually run it from 50.
We're
ask you
usually about
questions.
45 minutes. We're actually
Yeah.
at 57 here.
Okay.
I went fast.
Yeah, that was
did.
pretty fast. It means you kind of went with your passion, sharing.
I
what
love
you know.
doing this. If I can help people, if there's something, if like literally, like if we
Yeah,
can sit here
how-
for an hour
Yeah.
and we can share information with hundreds of people, and a couple people like take that information
Yeah.
and go like make positive changes in their life. Like, is there a better way to leverage our time than
Oh,
that?
absolutely.
There isn't.
No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
And so here's another question that we have too.
Christian, is Nelson looking to USD? Oh, 100% financial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
do
Kevin.
do you recommend line of credit or main home or
for
more
more rental?
great credit?
So he has great credit, has a home. He's saying, "Can I do a line of credit on my main home?" Do you recommend that?
I do. I did it. I have a line of credit. I paid off my house years ago. I've got a line of credit on it, and have used that thing to buy, do the math, 18, 9, 14, 7, 13, and like maybe 15 houses.
No,
with my line of
do
credit.
you do a HELOC or do you just do a fix?
I get a HELOC.
HELOC, okay.
But it's, yeah, but the house is paid off. So I mean, it's they amortize it over 15 years, but like I'm never making minimum payments on it. So it's like it's a weird thing. But yeah,
I think the interest
because the
changes.
money's cheap. I mean, it's like 3% or 3.5%. It's like free money.
Yeah.
So that's your great show, guys. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And I know we requested Mark's presence here all the way from Baltimore. So
Yes, and
we
thank
certainly
you for coming
appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mark,
golden
thank you
nuggets.
very
You're
much.
very welcome.
Thank
and
you.
listen,
Thanks.
I really appreciate everybody watching. I hope you enjoy it.
How can anybody reach you?
Yeah, because a lot of people probably have some questions.
MarkOwens.com. Mark at MarkOwens.com is my email address.
And you said you're also coaching.
Yeah, I do
Are you
coaching.
looking for other clients now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I'm. How do I put this?
Well, I know
that's
a lot
not
of
why I'm
people
here.
may.
That's
yeah,
not why I'm here.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
I'm not here to
case
sell you
if
anything.
anybody was interested.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions with on regards to something with buy and holding, Mark is the guy to go, especially if you're investing in Baltimore. I mean, if you're investing in Baltimore, you're not talking to him. I mean, you have
Probably
to.
should be.
Well, I have a pretty good reputation
Yes.
in Baltimore, and I'm easy to find. Like I'm easy to find.
Yeah.
And so anyway, thanks everybody for being here tonight. I enjoyed spending time with you. Hopefully you got something valuable out of it.
I believe they
The
did,
more
yes.
people that are out there doing this the right way, the better the world is. So thank you.
I'm glad you
Absolutely.
said that.
And
I think it's very
one
important.
last thing, we have our meetup coming up. It's the first Saturday of every month, so we're gonna be there. I believe April 7th.
Yep.
April 7th at Bulls and Bears at noon. We had a phenomenal amount of people coming in last time. I think we had
Yep.
over 20 people.
Yep.
And we're bring your deals. If you're a wholesaler, if you're a buy and hold, come bring your strategies. And we absolutely appreciate you guys being here.
There was tons of deals at the last meetup that we had. There was a deal in Smithsburg.
Smithsburg.
Yeah. For $49,000.
Wow. 49.
That was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath rancher
Rancher.
for $49,000.
What was the ARV on that? What was the ARV?
ARV
It's
on
probably
that
100.
was at least 100.
100,
The only downside, which I did
Well and
not,
septic?
Yeah, no, it had septic. Didn't have the well yet.
Oh, okay.
But
That could be a problem.
no, but
I mean,
like
drill the well like right next to the septic or right in the middle of it.
yeah,
Be
but
interesting.
like I told everybody at the meetup, there's local banks here in the Hagerstown area that'll finance you out of that deal there too.
You may be able to get a perk test and all that stuff. For
Yeah, it can get
Maybe,
complicated.
yeah.
I mean, it just takes some investment in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so come by, you find great deals, and you get to meet investors locally.
Somebody asked, I don't want to miss this. Somebody did ask about like if there's any software like online or anything that that's available. Bigger Pockets actually has some really good stuff on there to analyze deals and stuff. I don't personally use it because I've been in the business long enough. I don't need to. But and I'm not promoting Bigger Pockets. I'm a member, but I don't own it or anything. But they have some really good deal analyzing software. I've had other students and friends that have used it, and they always, every single person always spoke very highly of it.
Yeah, and it's very close. I've had somebody actually bring me a rehab breakdown on one of their tools. And what I just thought by just walking through compared to their tool, it was only $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, $1,000 is nothing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Either I was really good or the tool was really good.
So you can walk, like on your tablet and walk around, like.
I was happy when he showed it to me. He was like, I was like, oh, well, this is the number I had. And I looked at his paper, we were $1,000 off. So I think that is a good tip.
That is good. So that's good. That's really
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for showing up again, and until next time, take care.
See you guys.
Good night.